this, and I wasn't recording, but that intro doesn't necessarily matter. So, okay, we do not want to. Okay, so most owners don't come from a sales background. They come from a construction background. We're even seeing the newer generation of people that are coming into franchise systems have financial backgrounds, banking backgrounds, things like that, but they typically don't come from a sales background. So they want successful salespeople, but they don't have a clue how to have that happen. And I've met with owners that have told me this and be like, look, I don't know how to do what you do. I just want you to go out and go make the magic happen. Well, if you do not have some sort of structure in place for development is key to any person's success, no matter how seasoned a restoration professional is. And you can look right behind me. These are all sales books that I read. I try to read, at least one book a quarter, which is good for me because I don't like to read, but I have to be on a constant search for knowledge. Or then I get to the mentality of that I've arrived. And if I get to the mentality that I've arrived, I'm done. It's over. I might as well just completely get out. You need to constantly be learning to grow. So if the owners don't come from that background, how are you going to get that development? That's whenever you may need to look at a consulting firm. That's whenever you may need to look at going outside for peer-led networks, or you are going to have to possibly have a remote management for your sales team. All kinds of things like that. Also, too, goals aren't achievable. And I'll give you a case in point. I am consulting with some people all over the United States, and every single one of their salespeople said, you know what, I came into this industry not knowing a whole lot, and right out of the gate, they told me that they wanted me to sell, $1 or $2 million. Well, it's not that they can't sell that, but if they don't believe that they can sell that, they will never achieve that goal. Goals have to be broken down. You have to show them how to get from point A to point B. It's like, okay, in order to achieve $1 million, you need to do this per quarter, which is going to equate to this many water jobs. If you look at the industry average water job for residential, it's $2,250. Some of you guys may be doing more. Some of you guys may be doing significantly less, but the industry average is $2,250. But the industry average commercial water loss is $7,850. So is it easier for them to achieve if they become more commercially centric? Possibly, but you've got to show them how to get from point A to point B so that they have a buy-in and believability for the goal. The other thing is there's no development. So sales teams are left to figure it out on their own, or they're given very poor education. This is not an industry that you can throw someone to the wolves and that you cannot not develop them. And we'll get into what that education and development looks like in the next slide. But what they do is they put them on a computer, let them watch a few videos, from their corporate environment. Or if you're independent, they just say, these are some of the things that I've heard that people do that are successful, and then go figure it out. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's not the way it is. And what ends up happening is you get a very mundane sales team that does that repetitive thing. It's a law of averages. Go hand out a bunch of business cards and branded materials, and you want to do 25 to 30 route stops a day. Well, you know what? You haven't differentiated yourself between anyone. And if you don't believe me, I say this all the time, and you guys that have been on several of these webinars hear this, but go into an insurance agent's office, State Farm office, and look at the spoils of war. Go in there and look at the fact that there's a Paul Davis calendar sitting on the desk, a jar of candy from Service Master, a box of cookies from Belfour. There's, the local providers. Some of the independents have given out flyers, brochures, pens, things like this, magnets, but none of those people are memorable. None of them have had a memorable, meaningful conversation with these people. They're just dropping off a bunch of shit and expecting that going, okay, well, I hope I pull this rabbit out of the hat. And, oh, by the way, ServPro, they get to be the winner today. Well, that's not the way that works. And you know how look at the table of shame. Look at all the business cards that are over there. Look at all of the stuff that's over there. And when you ask that producer or that agent, who in here stands out to you, 99% of them couldn't tell you anything about any person that comes in there. Now, Are there good marketers? Yes. But marketers are people who drop off the gifts. They're the people who are out doing brand awareness. They are not making you money. There should be a salesperson following up on that appointment, going out and closing and asking for the business behind that marketer so they can work cohesively together. But if you think that you can be a great marketer and a great salesperson, you're going to have to show me, because it's too confusing. A real salesperson doesn't know when to turn it off. When am I supposed to be a marketer? When am I supposed to be a salesperson? And a marketer, typically, if you ask them, they don't want to ask for the business. They're scared of asking for the business. They would just rather go out and do brand awareness. So if you find somebody that's good at both and knows how to be super successful, multi-million-dollar producer that can do both, I want to meet them, because I've got a lot of questions I want to ask them about how they're able to balance that. So there's no consistency. They're left alone whenever times are good. So, hey, you just got a big sale. Nobody's looking at what they're doing because they just went out and made some big sale. So, and then whenever times are bad, now you want to micromanage them. Well, we all know that this industry has ebbs and flows. It's got hills and valleys, and everybody wants to micromanage in the valley when we should be micromanaging when we're on top, laying the foundation for those low times whenever it's going to get slow. So, and lastly, there's no accountability. You would be shocked if you saw all of the lack of reporting, the lack of sales teams be able to answer questions like, what was your commercial versus residential percentage? What was your no job percentage, and why were they no jobs? What's your priority response close percentage? What do you currently have in the pipeline, and what have you collected this year? They'd stare at me like deer caught in the headlights, and I'll show you and share with you the sheet that I kept, that at any given time, the owner could have asked me, what have you sold? What's your no job percentage? Why were each of these no jobs? What was your priority response close percentage? All of these kinds of things. I can share that sheet with you and show you why that makes it effective for a salesperson. I believe if you can't answer those questions, you don't own your territory. You don't take ownership of what you do. Therefore, how can you actively go out and go affect a number? So let's go on to the next deal. So the very first thing we need to do to get better is we've got to get back to the basics. We have to make sure that we're doing all the little things right. It is the execution of the little things that make you great. We can go do the big things. We can go put in the route stops. We can go in and say we're involved in these organizations, but are we doing all the little things right? So let's take a look and see what that looks like. First thing you're going to have to do is leadership. You're going to need a very detailed plan. And I'm talking, whenever I say detailed, I'm talking 35, 40-page plan of action for each of your sales reps. If you only have one, then it won't be that big. But if you have multiple salespeople, you need plans for every single one of them, because the only way for you to reach your destination is to have a meticulously planned route to the finish. That includes how to overcome roadblocks. That includes, if COVID was a huge roadblock. Why in the world were we not on the forefront as a restoration nation going out and saying, okay, well, we need dedicated COVID isolation wings and assisted living? All you're out is a few air scrubbers and some containment. But I sold 23 facilities doing this, setting up dedicated COVID wings. That was an open-ended contract. It's been going since March, average of $3,000 to $5,000 per facility. The minute there's an identified case, they're moved into this isolation wing with negative air, away from the general population. We were able in those 23 facilities to reduce the infection rate of their general population by over 80%. 80%. But we didn't think like that as restoration professionals. We're out scratching our heads going, well, COVID's here. I can't go knock on doors. What am I supposed to do now? Think, freaking think. We are masters of infectious disease control. We've done it before. It's staph infection, MRSA, TB, HIV, bloodborne pathogen. This is just another one. But why are we not the ones out there screaming? This is why you need a restoration company to do your cleanings versus your employees. Look at the liability you could potentially incur. Look at what they don't know the proper protocol. I wished I would have taken a video. I flew in from San Diego on a consulting trip the other day, and came in to Tulsa International Airport at 11 o'clock and saw how employees clean for COVID. They're just waving the wand around, don't care, listen to their Beats headphones, could care less. They're not being effective. We're masters of that domain. Why were we not excelling and leading the pack? Some of you were, and I applaud you for that. Some of you guys did a fantastic job of going out there and marketing COVID cleanings and educating your customers as to why they should be using companies like yours versus janitorial companies or their employees doing it. But most of us floundered. I was able to get on the phone and sell the FAA, not ever meeting them face to face, just through education. And you guys can do the same thing. Now, when we come down to, you're going to need fact-based company and individual goals posted for everyone to see. If they can't see their goals, they don't know what they are. You need to make sure, get them printed, go to Canva and print them off. Go make sure that they're written down in their planners. I carry a high performance planner with me everywhere I go. Every facet of my life is in this planner, written down for daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly objectives. Map out verticals and organizational involvement. Are you being strategic? Are you guys going, oh, we're in BOMA and we're in Gold Star? Well, so is every other restoration provider. But who's in REMS? Who's in IFMA? Who's in OSPMA, or the School Plant Managers Association? Who's in other organizations that maybe CARE Oklahoma, that maybe, it could be CARE in your state. It could be the ALA in your state, which is the Assisted Living Association. But when you're in, are you all in? Are you asking to be on the board of directors, asking to be on the new membership committees? Are you learning their language? In the ALA organization in Oklahoma, I learned the federal regs so that I could teach the 10-hour CE course. I became a keynote speaker for disaster resiliency. Had nothing to do. I wasn't even allowed to talk about the company that I worked for. And there was always questions and answers afterwards. Are you going all in for what you're doing? As leadership, have you created a 52-week development plan for your sales team? 52 weeks. Every week you should be teaching them something, making them better. Iron sharpens iron, honing their skills. Do you have documentation ready to track every result? To be able to go in and say, okay, look, I want to be able to answer those questions about their commercial versus residential. I want to know how many contacts and how effective those contacts are, because I'm doing ride with my employees. It just goes on, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Each sales rep needs to make sure that they have a plan ready for the first quarter, and they are going to be sending in weekly agendas documented with daily agendas saying, okay, Monday is not an agent day. Monday is an agent day, and these are the 15 agents that I'm going to go see. And here is what I'm going to talk to them about. And here is how long they've been in business. And here is who their producers are. And this is what percentage of their book of business is home and versus auto versus this. Because I see a lot of times we'll go out and we'll go to stops and they've never asked the question about whether or not they are heavy on the auto side or heavy on the home side. And they go in and find out they don't even write homeowners policies. They just do auto. Yet we've been going in and route stopping these guys for 5 years. It makes zero sense. We're not being effective or efficient in what we're doing. And then the big thing is I challenge you to come up with out-of-the-box talking points to engage prospective clients that don't tie directly to your primary scope of services. Okay, what's that mean? Well, I'm going to go into the hotel today and I'm not going to talk about fire, water, mold. I'm going to go into the hotel today and I'm going to talk about human trafficking awareness. And I'm going to do a training for your entire staff and cater in lunch. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with fire, water, mold. No, but it's education and it's FaceTime. And maybe if you go in there talking about fire, water, mold all the time, like the other 30 restoration providers do, there's been no differentiation and there's no reason for them to talk to you. So because the first story door is locked, the front door is locked, doesn't mean that you can't walk around the building, find a ladder, climb in through the third story window. So I got asked, very real story by the franchise that I used to work for. Why are you always putting active shooter trainings on your agendas? He goes, where's the ROI in that? Why would you even do that? And I said, oh, I don't know, because I spoke at the Green Country Healthcare Alliance the other night, co-branded all my slides on the active shooter stuff, and said on my elevator pitch that, oh, by the way, we do fire, water, mold, biotrauma, hazmat, and hoarder pack out. I was approached by a very prominent doctor and his wife, said, you do hoarder pack outs? I said, yeah. And they said, good. We have something that we need to handle very discreetly. And by the time it was all done, we put a new roof on the place and did the hoarder cleanup, and it was a $126,000 job. And I didn't talk about fire, water, mold at all, except for in the elevator pitch. I was out doing active shooter trainings. What's that have to do with restoration? What does it have to do with restoration when he said, you know, what keeps you up at night, Mr. Risk Manager, for these large grocery store chains? And he said, spoilage. I said, okay, so I go cultivate resources with refrigerated trucks, or for $20,000 a store, I can go out and do direct transfer switch installs so that I can just back a generator up and go flip the switch. I asked him what kept him up at night. It didn't have anything to do with our primary scope of services, but I had to be a solution. He provided me with a problem that I needed to be a solution for. Are we having those kinds of conversations? Or are we just showing up and throwing up? So number 2 is reporting. Everybody hates this part, but how will a rep know that they're moving the needle? Well, because as leadership, we should be doing weekly, monthly, and quarterly revenue reviews. Where are you at in relation to goal? Where are we? What have we sold? What have we collected? Where can we improve? The sales reps need to be keeping detailed spreadsheets of every single job that they produce. ERPs that they do, if you're in that realm, any priority response or chase that they've done, what their commercial versus residential per sales percentage is, what their no job bid quote, what status is it in. Most of the people that I talk to can't answer those questions. And I challenge whether or not they really have a vested interest in what they're doing. It starts with leadership. If leadership are not asking these questions, then the sales rep is not going to be inclined to be able to answer them because nobody's asking. There needs to be a review of daily and weekly agendas with accountability discussions on their specific targets for the week. So case in point is you could say, look, I've noticed that you've had ABC property management on your agenda for the last 6 months, and I don't really see that you've moved the needle. Maybe we need to trade that off to another person that could possibly get in there and change it. And we'll do some shuffling around, and maybe we'll take something from them and give to you and let you try. But most of the time, these reports come in, we don't even really look at them as leaders. We don't dissect them. It's just a bunch of BS. How often do you call your sales rep and say, hey, I noticed today that you were going to go by and go see, Joe Blow State Farm. How did that go? You're so busy, we're letting the whirlwind manage us, and we're not managing the whirlwind. People, when they know that they're not necessarily being watched, but that they're being held accountable for the things that they do, will strive to do better because they want that recognition. Are you going out as leadership to at least 2 closing meetings a week? So what's a closing meeting? I used to get told all the time, the owner that I worked for said, why in the world are you taking me to these meetings? You know how to close business. It didn't have anything to do with that. It had to do with the fact that these closing meetings looks important to the client, that the owner has taken time out of their day, or upper management has taken time out of their day to come meet with them. And plus, the owner had more technical expertise than I did. So if they started asking technical questions, I could shut up and learn. I could use it as a learning moment, sit there and listen to how he would handle that or she would handle that. And then also, what's the perception for the prospective client? Wow, they brought somebody that's even, bigger and more important here to this meeting to be able to do it, to come out, and because they value the potential relationship with me. So are we doing that? Are we reviewing the documentation and auditing the documentations that's being put into the CRM tool? Documentation should be as such to where if a sales rep leaves the organization, another sales rep would be able to come in, read the notes, and pick up exactly where they left off. There would be no confusion. There would be deep, meaningful dialogue that would be in there so they would be able to pick up the pieces and maintain a seamless relationship. Are we looking at that? Are they actually filling out their pipelines? Are they being held accountable for what status things are in? If you've got something that's got a prospective higher than 70% close percentage, have they closed it? And if they haven't, why? It's a good opportunity for you to be able to step in and educate and assist them to be better. That's our job as leadership, is to serve. It's to serve those that work with us, not under us. And we're no better than anybody else. It's just our job to help show them different ways to be successful when they are stalling, failing, or floundering. Do they have a top 10 active client list? There's 10 people that I know for a fact that I can do business with right now, and that may rotate or should rotate on a quarterly basis based on relationships. And then do they have a top 25 or top 50 wish list that they have that are, these are the big relationships, or these are the relationships that I want to achieve this quarter, biannually or annually? And are we monitoring those lists so that we can do some shuffling? There may be a situation. I had a case in point to where I had done an ERP for a huge property management company, even had conducted a couple losses. Then I went on vacation. One of my colleagues went out and facilitated a loss while I was on vacation. That gentleman hit it off better with that person. So when I came back, I transitioned that relationship over to him. It's about being smart, hungry, and humble. It's about saying, you know what, he can be more effective than me. When it all boils down to it, it's not my relationship. It's the owner's. It's the owner of the company's relationships. What's best for the company? And are we looking at that, things like that? Are we reviewing their work efficiency? Are they working hard? Are they working smart? Case in point, look at how their route stops go. If they take and they're working out in rural areas, did they saturate that territory or that area before moving on to the next one? Or are they spending, okay, I'm going to drive here and then it's an hour to the next stop that I want to go see? That's inefficient. If they're scheduled appointments, that's different. But if they're quote unquote cold calling, it's not efficient. It's a waste of company resources. You find out they're only working for about 20% of their day. I'd start paying them for 20% of their day, because that's what's going to get their attention. So number 3 is education. And I will open this up for questions as soon as we're done, because, again, like I said, I can't see the chat logs, so store those up. Education. So on the educational side, training, development, role plays, and let me move this out of the way so that I can actually see. Ride-alongs, peer-to-peer, shadows, closing meetings. They're all integral parts of your sales team's development and honing their skill sets. But more often than not, when was the last time you actually spent time in the vehicle with them, going out and watching them pitch? Have they got the opportunity to watch you pitch? Because, again, iron sharpens iron. Are we teaching blended sales? So let's talk about that for a second. Blended sales is a must. It has to happen now. They should be spending time on the phones, cultivating either Zoom meetings, virtual meetings, or face-to-face meetings, because door knocking just is not really working anymore. People are working from home. So again, this goes back to the efficiency thing. So get on the phone, utilize your LinkedIn platforms, utilize your social media platforms to connect with the prospective COIs. But more importantly, get on the phones and have phone calls. Be good on the phones to be able to set your week up. You may not even leave the office on Monday. Monday, you may be doing, okay, let's say if it was me, I would require at least 60 calls on a Monday to prospective clients. They're like, oh, well, that's a little aggressive. I don't think that's 60 calls. That's a lot. No, it's not. If you average 5 to 7 minutes per phone call, you're only working 37 and a half minutes of the hour. You're almost getting a 23-minute break every single hour. So you're only working at 66% work efficiency at 60 calls a day. That's not aggressive. That's underachieving. But we don't manage that way. And it's not because we're out here going, hey, look, you need to be a telemarketer. No, I want to set you up for success. As your leader, I want you to be successful. And here's what it's going to take in this new day and age. You're going to have to be good on the phones. You're going to have to be good digitally, and you're going to have to be good face-to-face. You can't just do it the way you did it in 2019 and expect to be successful. It's not going to work. So can they articulate and perform the intricacies of a small loss or a large loss? Can they get in there and talk to a facilities manager about what would happen if this building flooded from the top down? Do they know all the facets of how to look for? What would be the category? What would be the class? What would be the equipment and manpower that would be needed? How would you facilitate the loss in this specific structure? Do they intimately know every piece of equipment in your warehouse, how to operate it, what amperage it pulls, how many pints per day each LGR pulls, how many CFM does your desiccant pull, how containment works, what's the reasoning to incorporate negative air, why do we do 3 rounds of cleaning in a mold job, what's the approximate scope of work needed on a job, how much manpower, equipment, what's a potential reserve, what's affected, category, class? Can your salespeople articulate that? Why not? How in the world can you sell something you've never done? If you have not actively went out and worked a loss, you are doing a disservice to your prospective clients. If you can't articulate those things, if you don't know your equipment, you've got time now. Get in your production manager's hip pocket, spend a week and go out and do a fire job, a mold job, a contents job, a general cleaning job, a water job. If you can't articulate it, you can't sell it. So, which brings me to that. And if we're not teaching that, we're failing our salespeople. Yeah, so what? They went and did IICRC training. So that's book knowledge. Now they've got to go apply it. Now they have to be able to go do it in order to be able to articulate it. An unintelligent conversation regarding your products or services is a direct reflection of lack of development on behalf of the leadership team and would be qualified as a failure. Period. You failed them. So when you look at these trainings that you're setting people down and having them watch videos, is it effective? Or would it be more effective for them to go out in the field and go watch you pitch in their geographical territory up against people that they will be pitching to every single day? Or are we just going to watch some suit who's never sold a job, worked a job, produced a job in his life, try to teach something out of a book and expect them to be successful? Absolutely not. Practical, applicable, real world versus corporate book oriented hypothetical BS. I'll take real world experience every time. Every time. Number 4 is execution. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the majority of people fail. You start off in January, which you're getting ready to do with this big rah-rah meeting. Here's the top of the mountain. This is what we want to achieve. And oh my God, we're going to go do it. And everybody's like, we're going to go do it. And then there's 364 days of latency to December 31st to either the other mountain that's there. So there's 2, and it's either the failure or the realization of those goals. But that 364 days is the hardest part of all of it. And that is the daily grind, the daily execution, the daily goals, micro and major, that are being set, and the relentless attack every single day for the next year. The execution is key. And if you go, all these books that I have up here on selling are all fantastic, but every one of them tell you how to be successful. None of them tell you how to stay successful. And to stay successful is in the execution. And that's where people fall off the wagon, because it's hard. It's difficult. It's exhausting. The hardest part of achieving success is the day-to-day execution. It's the grind. So this could literally be full of just quote after quote after quote after quote. Failure to plan is a plan to fail. But that's true if you're not setting up your plan every single day, the day before. And I mean pre-call planning, doing meticulous research on all of the people that you're going to go talk to so that you can implement the 30-70 rule, so that you can go in there and say, I'm going to ask questions 30% of the time to get them to talk 70% of the time about them. I would encourage you for this year, go read the book, Go Givers Sell More. It's about not making a sale. It's about receiving a sale. It's about servant's heart mentality. It's about the empathetic psychological approach of creating needs because you're actively listening to what your prospective client would need from having a relationship with you. You should have daily goals, plan a daily plan of attack written down, not in your head, written down, visual representation every single day without fail, and be relentless about achieving every aspect of that plan 365 times a year. That's what it takes to go from being a salesperson to an ultra high performer. It takes relentless approach, no off switch, constant engagement. I would get an accountability partner, somebody that you can say, look, I'm going to ask you how your day went and ask you about your daily plan, and I need you to ask me about mine. But more importantly, I don't want you to be nice about it. If I didn't do it, I need you to ask me why. Why was this not done today? Why did I spend 2 hours in Quick Trip parking lot? Why in the world did I not go meet? It was 5 o'clock. I was going to log off, but I had one more person to meet. Why did I not go do it? You need to be smart, hungry, and humble. Smart means you're a constant student of the game, constantly on the thirst for knowledge. I need to be better than I was yesterday. You need to be hungry, which means that if I sold $1 million sale today, I need to go sell a $2 million sale tomorrow. And you're never satisfied, and humble enough to say, I haven't arrived. I'm here to serve. How can I be better? It's all going to boil down to an out-care, out-educate, out-sell mentality. If you out-care, you can provide solutions when nobody else can't. You can out-educate because you are the subject matter expert in every situation when it comes to restoration. And if you're not, you take and write it down what that weakness was, and then you go expand on that weakness. You go try to learn. You surround yourself with people that can help you with your weaknesses. You will always outsell. Always outsell. If you can walk into a general manager of a hotel and not only tell him how many gallons of water that sprinkler head's going to put out per minute, but here are the steps that you can do to prevent and minimize your loss. Now you've moved to strategic partnership with them. You are now consultative selling with them. You are now no longer a vendor. You've moved out of that realm. And you need to differentiate and distance yourself from your competitors by being more creative and more servant's heart minded than they could ever be. You bring me a problem, I am going to move hell and high water to fix it. I am going to be your solution. And if you can't, be humble enough to say, we don't do that, but I'm going to go find a resource that can. Your clients choose you. Every day they choose to do business with you, and how you handle that choice depends on whether or not they're going to continue to do business with you. You owe them your professional livelihood because they're your relationships, your customers. They are gold. They're diamonds, and they should be treated as such. I am going to do anything and everything I can to ensure that this is the greatest relationship and one of the worst times of your life that you could ever have. I'm going to be your superhero every day. And the last thing is, this is where leadership fails tremendously, is accountability. Accountability is the glue that, oh God, I can't read it. Anyway, it's the glue along with commitment that provides results. So people, especially salespeople, will fail for only two reasons. Either leadership did not provide them with all the tools they need to be successful. You have to ask yourself as leaders in the mirror every day, did I make my team better yesterday? And how am I going to make them even better today? Accountability is not a bad thing. Accountability is a great thing. Structure is a great thing. The military is successful for a reason. because they have structure in place. They have accountability and leadership and execution and plans. The other reason is either the salesperson does not possess the ability or they don't care. And that's on you in leadership for not being better in the hiring strategy. But either way, if they don't possess the ability or they don't care, they don't need to be a part of your organization. And we find so many people that just have warm bodies in place just to fulfill the position because it's a corporate requirement or because they don't want to say, I don't have a sales team. They need to have the best. You need to stop making excuses for your team. If they're not achieving the results that you need them to achieve, and you have provided them with all the tools they need to be successful, they don't need to work for you. If they're not passionate every day, trying to find a way to win, trying to be better than they were the day before, trying to go out and create bigger, deeper, more meaningful relationships, if they're not being creative in their thought process and coming to you and saying, what about this? What about that? Maybe they don't need to work for you. You have to be relentless as leaders to expect the very best out of the people that you have, but also too, you have to provide them with the motivation to go out and achieve what they need to do, the education to go out and achieve what they need to achieve. So if people are failing in your organization, the first person you need to look at is the person in the mirror. The second thing is that if you can answer number one, yes, I have done that, then they just don't care or they don't have the ability, and either way, they shouldn't work for you. It's that plain and simple. You need to hold your team accountable for goals, measures, execution, their pipeline, their contacts, their routes, their no job percentage. Why are we writing all these estimates and they're not turning into jobs? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if they don't care, if you don't care, if you're letting all these things slip through the crack and you're just griping at them when things are bad, if you don't care, why should they? So I'm going to open this up. I want to say, I've never said it this way before. We at Tier Level are here to help you, not just on the digital marketing platform. We're here to help you no matter what. Maybe you need consulting. Maybe you desperately need somebody to come in and say, here's the holes in the game, and this is what you need to do to fix it. Maybe you just need to bring us out to do some on-site sales training. Maybe you need to invest in remote sales management because you just don't have time to do it. But I'm going to tell you this, we can't help you if you don't ask. And we are servants to you. We do what we do because we want you to be successful. We hold webinars like this because we want you to achieve things you never thought you could. We want you to get everything out of this restoration career that you ever thought possible. But we can't help you if you don't ask. So you can email myself, Eddie@tierlevel.com, or Sean@tierlevel.com. I'm going to stop my share so that I can answer questions if you guys have them. So let's go ahead. It looks like we do have a couple questions in the Q&A. How do I get my sales manager to develop a plan without getting them in trouble for not having one? Well, I think that potentially right there is a great teaching moment for you. Moving forward in 2021, when I look back at 2020, I noticed that there were some things that were potentially missing in our organization. Moving forward, in order for us to be successful, we're going to put some new systems in place. So what I would like for you to do is by January 15th, I would like you to develop me your first quarter plan of action for the success for your sales reps. If you need help with that, I'll be more than happy to jump in and help you and guide you and show you what it is that I'm looking for so that I can guarantee at the end of it, you have either succeeded or failed in that situation. You have to make yourself available to be able to do that. You have to lead by example. If you want to get something done that you've never done before, you have to be willing to do what you've never done. So it is one of those situations to where you're going to have to take the bull by the horns and show by example on how to have that, because I don't think that if you haven't shown them that or ever held them accountable for that, how would they ever be in trouble? They can't be in trouble. It starts with leadership. Leadership failed them by not asking for those things and showing them how to get from point A to point B. So I hope that answers your question. And if you want help in having those conversations with people, then by all means, shoot me an email, eddie@tierlevel.com. I'll be happy to walk you through it and show you exactly how I would handle that situation. So what is the best tool to track progress and keep client details? Spreadsheet. Actually, yes, it is. Regina, do me a favor. If you will shoot me an email, I will shoot you over my job sheet. My job sheet was all color coded. Anybody that wants it, in fact, shoot me an email, eddie@tierlevel.com, could answer every question of what was your commercial versus residential sales percentage? Where did the jobs originate from? What status were they in? What have I collected? What was still in the pipeline? What my priority, if I had a priority response on there, did I close it? If not, why? Why was the no jobs? I'll send you that spreadsheet. It definitely was a great accountability tool for me, to be able to sit there and say, okay, I have a firm grasp on everything that is going on in my territory above and beyond my CRM. So if you want that job sheet, it is fantastic. Very easy. It's just plug and play for you to be able to do it. You can create it. It was color coded and broken down by quarter, and then at the end of the year. So again, it's Eddie, EDDIE @tierlevel.com, and I will be more than happy to send it over to you. Okay, let's look. Any other questions that you guys may have? Yes, Will, I will make sure and get you the recording link. I'm starting to see the emails come in for the job sheet, so thank you very much for asking for that. And if you need clarification on those, I would be more than happy to kind of walk you through the mentality of it. I think you'll get it. I mean, it's pretty simple, but it's a great accountability tool. Scott says, that was my question. We have no sales manager and I'm like the Lone Ranger. We have not gained access to Salesforce yet. Okay. Well, here's the deal, Scott. And you know this about me because we've met personally. I believe, and this is not saying that you're being this way. So please don't take this way. I don't believe in excuses. I believe in being a solution. If you don't have the tools that you need to be successful, create them. Which is why I created that job sheet, because there was at no given time that I wanted somebody that I was working for to ask me any of those analytics and my answer be, I don't know. I wanted to have an answer for everything. And it was, again, about being meticulous and passionate about those. So again, I'm not implying that you're not that way, Scott, not at all. I know your character and I know what you're like, but create it. And if you don't have a sales manager, then lay the gauntlet down and say, this is what I would expect from leadership whenever you do bring someone in for this, because these are the systems that I want to be accountable for in my professional life, and I want to have an answer for everything. So that's kind of the direction that I would take, create it for you. So I'm getting tons and tons of spreadsheet. I promise I will get those all out to you today. I have done so much on my own, no offense taken. Yeah, Scott, I know, like I said, I know your character and I know your work ethic, and you're one of the best that's out there. I know there's some great guys and great players that are on here, but Scott is, if you ever want to get into a best practices conversation with somebody, Scott is somebody that I would highly recommend. And I know he's done a lot on his own. Keep in mind too, use your support resources as well. If you ever need anything from, Sean or myself, we're always just a phone call or an email away, and we'll make sure that we get you taken care of. All right. So I don't care what kind of questions they are, guys. This is here for you. Wendy asked, what was the name of the book? It is Go Givers, Sell More. And there's the other one too, since we had talked about blended sales, I would highly encourage you go pick up Virtual Selling by Jeb Blunt. And then there's another book called Sell in Place, which is about a team of sales professionals that go out and sell multi-million-dollar deals and never meet anyone face to face. So those 3 books I would put definitely on your first quarter list: Go Givers, Sell More, Virtual Selling, and Sell in Place. Those books are game changers, especially for this new world. So, and the way that we have to sell. All right. Anything else that anybody needs? It looks like people are starting to drop off. We're approaching our time, but if you have any other questions, I'm going to leave this open again for any more. Could you include a book list in your spreadsheet email? Absolutely. I would love to. So I will get that out to you, Regina. And as long as you've emailed me and I have your email address, I'll be happy to get that out to you. All right. Anything else, guys? Guys, my prayer for you is that you guys will achieve more than you ever have for 2021. We are here to support you in every endeavor possible, even if it means to challenge your intellect on creative, out-of-the-box ways to be able to go out and obtain business and create relationships that you may have never had. But that is my prayer for you, is that you guys will have meteoric success this year. And I want to hear about it, and if we got to play a small part in any of that, then we're better for it. So guys, thank you so much. Be safe. Have a happy new year. And we will see you guys in 2021.